Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Friday Night Football Blitz. John Mendola, George Howanitz, and George, a great night of football. Watched some of that Valley View and Dallas game, and boy, it looked like Dallas was ready to kind of take it to them, and Valley View stops them, and then goes right down the field, and then just took over the football game.
Yeah, it really was a tale of two halves. I mean, Dallas didn't score in the second half. Valley View scored four touchdowns, I think, in the second half. It was 14-6 going in at halftime, ended up 35-14. So that play that you were talking about in the middle of the second or middle of the third quarter, Dallas had a 4th-and-1 from about the 2-yard line to go in and got stuffed, and Valley View went on a 98.5-yard drive. And went in and scored a tying touchdown. And really didn't look back at that from that point on. So it really was a good game, physical. Valley View, same as they did all year, made a lot of mistakes, but were able to in the fourth quarter just I think overcome a lot of that with with a lot of power football and Swolinski again making huge plays for them and Reed their fullback, and then Kaharski sealing everything with a couple picks, one a pick six and won a pick to end a drive. So, back in that district championship role again that, Valley View's been in for a lot of years. And for me, at least, it's good to see them back on top again, even though Dallas, great season. I thought, for starting the season 0-3 and everything, we've talked to Coach a lot the last couple of weeks from Dallas and during the season. That was I thought, a great season for them and a great accomplishment this year.
Week 1, Valley View to week 12, and talk about what you saw, what the difference was. I mean, their power football kind of took over Dallas. I think many of us may have thought, hey, this is going to be a couple-point game either way, and pretty much for a lot of the game, it looked like it could come down to a play or two, but they just kind of out-physical Dallas in the end, and their big-time players made big-time plays, and the power guys made the plays, but then, as you mentioned, Kaharski made some good athletic plays there at the end for them.
Yeah, I told I shouldn't say this in our show, but I told our kids today at school I thought the score would be 35-14, and it ended up 35-14. I just think Valley View, I'm just going to say against Dallas, and this is what they've done pretty much all year to teams, other than the prep game week 1, where I just don't think they were in sync yet. They're big up front. They're senior heavy. So I mean, you go right down, go through your list of kids making plays, and I've said this, and we said this even to Coach when he was on. Coach Mel was on. You go as far as your seniors will take you, right? So they have senior quarterback, senior tailback, senior fullback, senior tight end, 2 seniors on the line, 2 senior receivers. Then you go on defense. Senior linebackers, senior secondary. So you look at all the guys we've talked about making plays, they're all seniors. And so I was there. So a lot of those kids played as sophomores. So they've had, this will be their 3rd district championship in a row now. 2 losses. They lost as sophomores, they lost as juniors, come back now again, 3rd year in a row. And it means a lot. I mean, you're talking about all those games those kids have had on their belt. You're talking at least 12 to 13 games a year for 3 years now. 39 games for a senior is a lot of games to play in 3 years in high school. So that, I think, to me, is probably what puts them over the top, and that, that ability, just to know what it's like to be in those big games. And I think having lost the last couple of years just gives them a little extra drive this year to get that district championship win.
Yeah, congratulations to Valley View getting the 4A District 2 title. Now, all right, we played just about every game in districts except tomorrow. You'll get Delaware Valley and Abington Heights for 5A. And then next week, AAA is going to match up with Scranton Prep in Wyoming area. And it was not easy. Wyoming area was out. I think it was like 21-6 or 3 or whatever the heck that score was. Western Wayne storms back, makes it 22-21. They go up another score. And Wyoming area, I think, scores with like 50 seconds and gets the 2-point conversion. Goes to the overtime. Wyoming area misses the kick. Goes to the second overtime. And then Western Wayne falls short by 1 yard. Heck of a battle there between Wyoming area and Western Wayne.
It's we've been saying all year that 3A, those top four teams in 3A is going to be a great bracket, right? If they both could get into the semifinal round, which they did, 1, 2, 3, 4 all made it. Prep is so interesting to me because I feel like they play rope-a-dope. Like they let teams kind of hang around. Like even the game tonight, it's 40-21. I was listening a little bit on the radio. It was 33, I think, to 14. Then Mid Valley goes in the score. It's 33-21. Like it's kind of back and forth. I don't want to say I think they get bored, but I think their team is really, really good. And I'm anxious to see what they'll do next week now with Wyoming area, because I think Wyoming area is in the same boat as kind of what we said with Valley View. They're a little bit they got some good seniors in some good positions. So does Prep. Both teams have championship pedigree, so it'll be an interesting vibe that way. And I just don't know if teams have enough firepower. Prep can score 40 at will each week, and I just don't know if teams have enough firepower to keep up with that offensive onslaught that they can put on each week.
All right, we are talking here on the Friday Night Football Blitz. Coach George Howanitz and myself will take a timeout, and we'll talk a little bit more high school football tonight. We'll be right back.
The Football Blitz is brought to you by the Maddock Agency. Since 1972, the Maddock Agency has been serving northeastern Pennsylvania for home, auto, and life. The Maddock Agency prides itself on being an independently owned agency. When you need help, you could talk with the staff member who lives and works right here in Northeast PA. The Maddock Agency has stayed true to its local, loyal roots. That's what our company was founded on more than 50 years ago. Call Dave Maddock and his team today. 570-586-3790. Use Savage Chiropractic. Takes pride in always doing a full evaluation on all patients, including x-rays, to evaluate patients to keep them safe and to determine the best care for their specific needs. Then they use modern techniques to get patients better, faster, and keep them feeling great with maintenance care options after they're pain-free. Along with chiropractic care, they are one of the only offices here in Northeast PA that offers both Class 4 cold laser to speed up the healing process and massage therapy and bodywork to aid in muscle repair and rehabilitation. And Northeast Outdoor Services, a locally run and operated company who offers a wide range of services but specializes in all forms of hardscape, concrete work, along with fiberglass pools and spas. Check us out on Facebook or visit our website at northeastoutdoorservices.com. Northeast Outdoor Services.
All right, back here on the Friday Night Football Blitz. Appreciate our sponsors, and obviously, without them, we don't have this show. Georgia, a lot of people in the community have really, supported what we're doing here on the Friday Night Football Blitz. Again, we're in our first season of this, and we've gone through and talked to coaches, talked with players, and trying to reach a little bit outside District 2 sometimes to talk with some of those players, but just to get a little bit of perspective after these high school football games. And like anything else, the players, the coaches, they're all, they got to go to the locker room. They got to get themselves kind of cleaned up a little bit. And then you got to board a bus, and what that's like to kind of get everything organized. Wyoming area just got on the bus to head back from Western Wayne. So Randy Spencer reached out. He's like, hey, it might be a little tough to get you. And he's got one bar. You go from Western Wayne to try to get down to the Casey Highway. It takes a little bit.
It's hard with a lot of this. And I know I could tell you from, you even from Valley View's perspective, I can tell you, you get finished winning a game, you win a district championship. And for Scott tonight, his first one. So it's probably an even more emotional night for him. And I'm just going to, you don't want to spend 5 minutes on a sports show when you're in there with your kids and doing all the stuff you're doing and your family members all around. So we're hoping we can grab some of these guys for a couple of minutes and just pick their brains a little bit on the game. And there's so many good games, I think, tonight. And like I said, so many teams. You think about this journey 12 weeks ago or 13 weeks ago, even farther back than the summer, and this culmination now for a lot of these kids to be able to win these championships. And you talk about it, you hear about it, but then to actually have it happen, it's a huge emotional night and something these memories these kids will never forget, along with the coaches.
Let's talk a little bit about Lackawanna Trail. I mean, they pretty much, took care of Tri-Valley easily, and the job Steve Jervis has done, and playing a couple home playoff games, something that maybe Trail didn't think could happen, and it's been some home cooking and good for them.
Yeah, they're. I mean, we've talked about them all year. They're a great football team. Again, senior heavy, right? We've talked about all the great seniors they have, and 42-0 tonight over Tri Valley. They're going to play Muncie now next week. I don't know what's going to happen with the next round. Like I know Valley View is going to play. I'm going to assume probably Pope John Paul II. That's going to be another home game for them, which is a big plus. I don't know if Trail is on the road or neutral site or possibly home for them, but they do. I think at least for them in years past now, they've really gone on and played one of the top teams in the state. The last couple of years, they've played a 1 or 2 seed, in Pennsylvania. Now this year they'll get to play Muncie, which I think at least will give them a chance maybe to make a little deeper run into the playoffs and maybe have a chance to get a little closer to that state final. And I think with Steve's team and what he has at his disposal, that's definitely a possibility coming out of District 2.
Yeah, so the Western bracket has districts 9, 10, and 7. Then 6 moved over to the bottom of the Eastern bracket. So, yeah, you're right. Now, Trail's on top of the bracket. And I think, as I remember, I don't know, it seemed like the top team was the home team, but we'll figure that out between them and Muncie. I would think that Trail would be the favorite again, next week against Muncie. But, it's great to see Trail kind of keep this going this year for them again. And he seems like he's on a roll right now. That program is at a real high for a small school here in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they just, like I said, that wing tee is so hard to get ready for in 1 week and practice again. Even to practice against when you're not used to doing it, it's a tough thing for your kids to, to have to try to simulate and practice and then roll into a game with a coach who's been coaching it for, the X amount of years, probably 20 years or so for Steve, pretty close to that. And his kids who've been running it since 7th grade, it's a tough thing to defend. And then they're very physical. They're big up front, good on defense. So it'll be like I said, it's a really nice bracket. I've just pulled the bracket up for myself, but it really is a nice bracket for them to be in compared to, years past. They've been having to roll and play whoever, like I said, whoever the number 1 seed was really in the state of Pennsylvania, like a Clareton or, teams like that where, you'd like to see them in a state final. Instead, you were seeing them in the first round of the playoffs. So I really think it's a plus. I really think it's a plus for Steve and Trail. And, something they'll, like I said, I think they can really make a deep run here into the playoffs.
Yeah. And then in 5A, Abington Heights, Delaware Valley, they'll get the winner of Du Bois and Hollidaysburg. So that's a little bit of a Western flavor there with that. What do you see tomorrow in that Abington Heights, Delaware Valley game? A rock'em sock'em, Abington try to air it out, and Delaware Valley kind of do what they do.
Yeah, I just think, well, the first time they played, and if you remember, we talked about it, I didn't think Abington threw the ball enough. I think they ended up losing. So I always say it's harder to play a team a second time and win a second time, in DV's shoes, because Abington's going to fix stuff that needs to be fixed, and DV's kind of going to do what they do. So I would assume they'll probably throw the ball a little more. They've been throwing the ball well. I think that's going to be one of the better games of the weekend. And I think that's another one of those games we could see a 28-21 or a, 35-28 kind of game, and somebody scoring late probably to win it. So I think that'll be an interesting game tomorrow at Abington, where anything on a Saturday afternoon, I think is a big home field advantage for teams that are used to playing on Fridays.
Now, Abington had to go against, Delaware Valley and Scranton Prep in combined weeks in the middle of the season. Got the 2 losses. They put together like 4 in a row now. How about the coaching matchup between Ulsimer and Repchis as far as, how you think that's going to play off? I mean, Ulsimer and his staff, they seem like they've been together forever, but I think there's been some steadiness there at Abington Heights as well.
Yeah, I think the 2 guys have coached and won championships for many years. Obviously, Abington's been not really at that top of the mountain that they had been probably about 10 years ago when they won year after year after year. Now, Delaware Valley's been that team where, they're always playing for district finals and usually winning the district final. Keith does a great job preparing, so does Rep. So, the coaching, I think, to me, will be relatively a wash. It'll just be which teams can make more plays and probably make the least amount of mistakes, compared to game 1, which I think, both teams, I think, are about equal. It's about as equal a battle as you'll get. Keith kind of young on the DV side, a couple of guys a little bit older, but Rep having more of that senior heavy kind of team. I probably thought he might win some more games this year, but making a district final and have a chance to win that is the ultimate goal of all the teams when they started, X amount of weeks ago. So like I said, I think that'll be one of the better games of the weekend.
I think Delaware Valley had the harder schedule this year against versus Abington's schedule, but Abington had 4 shutouts this year. Delaware Valley didn't have one, but maybe you throw that out when Delaware Valley puts up 35 against Abington in that first game. Do you think this one might be a little bit more defensive, like a 17-14 or something like that?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I've watched both teams play. I just don't think either team is really fantastic on defense. I think they're better offensive teams. Like I said, DV is a little bit younger on defense. They have, Keith has his son playing quarterback. He's got some older kids on the offensive side. And Abington's playmakers are more offensive oriented guys as well. So I really, like I said, I see it at 35-28 or it could even be more than that. I think both teams will score on each other. It's just, like I said, who can make the least amount of mistakes, when it matters the most. So I'm going to Pitt tomorrow. If I wasn't going to Pitt tomorrow, I'd be at the Pit watching that game tomorrow because I think that'll be that good of a high school football game.
All right, we're going to take another timeout, and we'll come back here on the Friday Night Football Blitz and talk more high school football here on Friday night.
The Football Blitz is brought to you by Locals Only Project. Locals Only Project's an apparel company based right here in our backyard. Their mission is to keep Main Street alive and support mom and pop shops across NEPA. They're slinging some great hometown gear like hats, hoodies, and tees. Check them out at localsonlyproject.com. Guys Barbershop. Hey, sports fans, are you ready for game day? Look sharp with the fresh cut from Guys Barbershop. With 2 locations in Scranton and Oliphant, we specialize in styles that score big. Whether you need a classic trim or a modern look, our skilled barbers have you covered. Join the winning team, Guys Barbershop, where every haircut is a touchdown. Visit us today and show your team spirit. Tasty Freeze and Mini Golf, located on the Scranton-Carbondale Highway in Einan. Open 7 days a week, offering a variety of ice cream, including 25 flavors of Manning's Dairy Farm. Make every day an ice cream day. Enjoy family fun at our 18-hole miniature golf course located behind our store or relax in our spacious dining room. Tasty Freeze is a great location for children's birthday parties. Visit our Facebook page at Tasty Freeze Treats or stop by. Keep up with outstanding athletes at Lackawanna College, including the nationally recognized football team under Hall of Fame coach Mark Duda at LackawannaFalcons.com. Lackawanna football is in its 32nd season, and Coach Duda is now in his 31st year at the helm. With a proven track record of getting student athletes to the next level, as the Falcons play a national schedule against some of the best teams in the country. Read the recap, score, stats, and more, highlighting Lackawanna College Falcons athletics at LackawannaFalcons.com.
We're back here in the Friday Night Football Blitz. Coach George Howanitz and myself, we appreciate you joining us. And again, thank our sponsors here in the Friday Night Football Blitz for supporting us all season long. George, we'll get over to that Riverside Dunmore game. Kind of played out, I think, the way most of us thought it would. Dunmore, hey, they fought so young, able to beat Susquehanna and get to this championship game, but the Vikings just a little too much.
Yeah, I give Riverside a lot of credit because they really looked bad, I thought, against Lackawanna Trail. And sometimes those games carry over into your next game or next couple games. And they really didn't let that happen. They had a nice run now in the 2A playoffs. They're going to play Bristol or Lansdale Catholic in the next round, which will be a tough game for them next week in the first round of the state playoffs. But Harry does a great job. He's got a lot of good athletes there, and I know they were a little bit dinged up from that trail game. A couple guys still hurt, but I'm assuming most of them played tonight. And good job by Dunmore. Like you said, a lot of young kids, a lot of ups and downs during the year. But to be able to make a district final and have a decent showing, I mean, the score was only 24-6. So I thought that was a decent showing, and it's good stepping stone for your team for next year.
Yeah, that's for sure. We anticipate next week. We talked already about 3A between Prep and Wyoming area. We had the guys last week like, hey, we guarantee we're going to win. Boy, they guaranteed it by 1 point. It somehow worked out their way. But, anything can happen with those two.
Yeah, we keep talking about some of this stuff, but I hate to. I'm not a big proponent to give coaches that much credit because I think your players really make all the plays. But you look at the coaches that are winning a lot of these games too, and the teams getting in. Like we already said, Repshis and Olsemer, two guys with over 100 wins. You're going to go, Scott Wasilchak, great pedigree. His dad coached, his brother coached, he coached now. You get preps coaches, you get Wyoming areas coaches, guys that have won a lot of championships. Harry, been to, district championships, Riverside, state championships of Riverside. You got Steve Jervis at Trail, district championships, big long runs. There is something to be said. Every one of the teams that are moving on have coaches that kind of have a great pedigree behind them, a lot of wins, know what it takes to get through the districts and get into states, and they'll have their teams ready as they move through each week of these playoffs.
Yeah, and Williamsport took care of Wilkes-Barre area today. I think it was 14-0 last night. I knew that might have been the final between those two. Congratulations to Billtown. Wilkes-Barre thought, well, hey, the first game, maybe they gave something away, but Wilkes-Barre just couldn't get the job done. They had the home cooking, but Williamsport has a nice slow trip out there on 118 or whether they went the long way. So congratulations to the Millionaires.
I think there's teams, and you, John, probably saw both games a little more closely than I did, but I just think there's teams that give other teams bad matchups. When you see teams like this where I don't think Wilkes-Barre scored either time, right, against Williamsport. I think they were shut out both times, if I remember right.
They scored 20. The first game was like 34-20. They were up, and then they kind of lost it.
Right.
But yeah, tonight they couldn't score.
I just think, like I said, I just think certain teams and even my last year coaching in Valley View, we just didn't match up well against Crestwood. Crestwood beat us the first game of the year and the last game of the year in the district championship, and we just, for whatever reason, it was just one of those teams, the way they were built and things they were able to do. You just have a bad matchup against certain teams. I think that's probably how that Wilkes-Barre, the two games went this year. But I mean, this is one of those games where I said it's bad luck. Like the winner of this game is going to go on and play State College, which is probably one of the better teams in 6A in the whole state. So I hate to say it's your prize is to go play. You win the district, but now you got to go play State College. But it's going to be a tough sledding now for Williamsport coming out of the 6A bracket.
I think we got Scott Wasilchak standing by. We're going to try to see if we could swing him in.
Finish popping that champagne there.
Scott?
I can't get my face to show up, but that's a good thing. Nobody wants to see me.
Hey,
you don't want to see the turf either.
No.
Spin that.
I can't get anything.
Spin that thing around.
There you go. There's a handsome guy.
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. Wasn't easy, but they got it done.
That fourth quarter was easy, I'll tell you that.
Oof. The defense came to play there, and obviously, up front, we beat them up a little bit. I think their kids were a little bit beat up.
Scott, let's talk about that stop there in that third quarter. They're trying to punch it in. They could kick the field goal. Your kids rose to the occasion, drove right down the field, and it was pretty much – you guys even went for it there on that fourth down on your side of the field. Talk about that confidence, and was that you? Was it your coaching staff? Was that your hard-headedness? What was it?
Well, first of all, the stop was great. My brother and I were arguing on the sidelines. I said, I'm going for it. And he told me I can't stop him from the 36. And I said, well, I'm planning on getting it. But no, it definitely wasn't the coaching staff on that one. But you know what? I have faith in Zach that, and he did it all year. When there was 3-4 yards to get, he knows how to get it, and he went and got it.
I'm going to take full credit for that decision making because the old Wasilchak way, you definitely would have punted that. If Jeff, when Jeff and you were at Lakeland, that ball was getting punted. The last couple of years, I think I rubbed off on you enough because we would have gone for it from our 10. But I'm going to say my ability to take chances rubbed off on you a little bit there to take that chance.
Well, and I just didn't want to give them the ball back at that point. And I didn't want to punt because they blocked one earlier. And you're right. You used to do it a lot. And there'd be times where I'm like, oh, boy, what are we doing? But there, if you make that, it was a little bit of a takes this wind out of their sails a little bit. And then we went right down the field. Zach breaks the play, and the game changed at that point, I thought.
And I said, I was talking to Josh Lupini today, he said, what do you think about the game? And I said, when you play Dallas, you have to be more physical than they are. I mean, that's the way to beat Dallas. I mean, Coach Mendola is going to come in and talk about toughness and the lifting and what they do in the off season. You have to match that physicality. And I thought today, even on bad plays, I thought one of the biggest plays of the game was when you threw an interception and the kid who intercepted was coming on the sideline, and Swolinski just lit him up on the sideline. So even your bad plays, there was a lot of physicality there to let them know that you guys were going to be there and play that way tonight for that game.
I think you're 100% right. I think I don't think their tailback and their quarterback were hit like that all year. The kids took it a little bit personal. We got word from them last year that, they took it to us last year, and they all physical us. And, the comment was Johnny Marino thinks he's tough. Let's see how tough he is when he gets a face full of number 4. And I think Gianni took that personal, and so did everyone else. And then I think, like you said, our kids they stepped up, and they wanted to be physical, and they were, and again, they're a tough group of kids, George, them. They're not perfect by any means, but when it comes time to play, they seem to find a way to pull it out in the end.
Scott, talk about doing this as a head coach, and obviously you have a whole coaching staff, and it's a program. The kids had to buy in, and they bought in at Valley View for decades. But talk a little bit about this particular group, and just kind of, you had that feeling before the year, like this could be a special year, and here we are in week 12 proving a district championship is a special year.
The program George had the program in place. Like, there was a smooth transition, and there wasn't a lot changed. We play a little different style of defense. We don't blitz as much, but the attitude is the same, and the principle of what you're trying to do here is the same thing. So the culture was here. He built the program, and we just rolled in, and we're trying to continue it. This personal group of kids, I don't know. There were teams probably that were definitely more disciplined than them. We're working on their character as people as we're going through, and hopefully it's paid dividends. I mean, they just won a district championship, and hopefully it's going to pay dividends for them after they leave this program. And that's a big part of Valley football, and George preached that for years. I mean, it's more than just playing here for 4 years. You're part of this family, and you can come back at any time and be part of it. And there's kids here that didn't want this to end because this is their family. Even some of them that don't play much. Tonight they're hugging me, Coach, I love you. I want to keep going, because I don't know when the season's over where they're going to go.
Well, I think one of the great things about this team this year, I mean, you lose the first game, it's ugly, and you hear from everybody that how bad you're going to be, and then you go on this long run now. You haven't lost the game since, but this group of kids, for all the mistakes they make, you find ways to win, right? So it's the penalties, it's the block punt, but they always seem to find a way each week, sometimes a little different ways, but you always seem to find a way to win. And it comes down a lot of times to your seniors making big plays for you, in the fourth quarters of games.
Well, and I think that's who they are. I mean, they make mistakes, and they make mistakes off the field too. But they do care, and they do try to fix it, and that's the point. Our special teams haven't been great. We had another punt blocked again tonight, but they fix it, and we at the end of the game we need to get the punt off. They go and they do it. So like you said, they're not perfect, but you're right. There's like 30 seniors on the team, and they played here for a long time. They've been in the program, and they've been part of groups with good character. And I think they learned some of them learned from that, and they carried us through.
Karski stepped up, made some big plays for you guys late. Obviously the guys that are 6'1", 220 made a bunch of plays, or the guys 5'10", 215 made plays, but Karski made some athletic plays for you guys. He's
pretty athletic. I mean, on a lot of other teams that he would be the feature back and carry the ball a lot more, and they'd probably throw the ball a lot more to him. He has great hands. We spread the ball around a little bit with our guys, and all of them made plays tonight. Preston and Smolinski and obviously Nicky, and then Ben Evans, the Stanford play at the end when the cheerleaders ran on the field before the play was over. But we'll take it. It counted. It actually counted. The touchdown counted, so we'll take it.
Good stuff.
Well, we're going to let you go. I know you want to celebrate. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. And, I think one of the things John and I talked about, we've talked about this, for a program, and Valley View's had a lot of success for 60 years, but this program's been going, it's been district championship, and I know they haven't all been wins, but this is the 8th or 9th year in a row that, or pretty close to that, where Valley View's been in that, that championship kind of chance to win. And I think that's a lot to be said for. And it's not, I always say it's not the coaching, because I passed the torch here and you're there now. So the kids have done a great job, and there's a lot to be said for that coming out of this 4A bracket, which I think is one of the toughest brackets every year.
It's the program, it's the community, it's what people care about here. It's a standard that's been in place, like you said, and we just roll in and year out, try to be competitive, and it's been pretty successful. Now, I did take a thing out of your book, George. I do not go out anymore. I go to my sister's house. I do not go out like
the pizza's a little better there too.
Well, as the head coach, it's better to go away from people.
There you
sometimes,
go. All right, Scott.
I'll love you tonight, buddy. Tonight, everybody will love you.
Yeah.
You lose next week, and nobody will talk to you. Then you definitely don't want to go out.
Hang out with your brother a little bit too. All right.
All right. Well, everybody, I say congratulations. I'm happy for you guys.
Congrats.
Proud of them. Thank you.
We come back. We'll try to get the Carl Major and Danville. We'll be back here in the Friday Night Football Blitz.
The Football Blitz is brought to you by Battaglia Sporting Goods, your hometown sporting goods store since 1975. Contact us for your team sports needs, including all kinds of sports equipment, as well as screen printing and embroidery. We carry most major brands like Under Armour and Adidas. Moon Rooster, LLC, the leading digital agency in Northeast PA. Moon Rooster builds custom websites and software, runs targeted ad campaigns, and manages social media to drive traffic and boost your revenue. Let them handle the tech so you can focus on what you love. Visit moonrooster.com to get started. Mesco Glass. Since the founding of our family business in 1930, Mesco Glass has served Northeast Pennsylvania as the area's leading full-service glass company. In those 94 years, we've expanded to 5 locations. Mesco knows glass, auto, home, and commercial. That's what we've done for 94 years. Call Mesco, 1-800-982-4055. Physical Therapy Associates of Northeastern Pennsylvania, your go-to top-notch care with 3 convenient locations in Old Forge, Hamlin, and Archbald. These pros deliver skilled one-on-one sessions to help you get back in the game faster. Ready to bounce back strong? Give Physical Therapy Associates a call. 570-209-9800. That's Enough Out of You is a weekly podcast hosted by Sean Kane, a Valley View graduate, and Bill Rader, an Abington Heights graduate, whose wife teaches in the Valley View School District. The free podcast explores important historical events and significant figures in history. They're joined by prominent researchers and authors in the areas of JFK's presidency and the assassination, RFK, the war in Vietnam, and many other events of the 20th century. They also talk about sports, pop culture, and occasionally politics. Check out That's Enough Out of You on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, or go to that'senoughoutofyou.com for more information.
We're back here in the Friday Night Football Blitz. George Howanitz, and there's the head football coach of Danville, Carl Major, with us. Carl, congratulations on your victory against Montoursville tonight. Appreciate you joining us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Let's talk about the win tonight against the Warriors.
I'll tell you, they came out and played us tough. We had a bye week, and sometimes it does really well to get healthy, but you get out a little sync on it. But they went up 10-0 on us, and then we didn't hit the panic mode, and kids fought back and went in halftime 14-10, and then kind of took over the game from there.
Coach, you're going to run into a one-loss Lewisburg team next week. Their only loss coming against Shamokin. Can you tell us anything about that matchup next week?
Oh, they're a good football team. They got a real big line. The running back is really good. He gave us fits last year when we played them twice. But they're confident. They're coming in, to beat us. My old coaches on the staff told me, in 2010 it was like the same situation. We were undefeated and they had one loss, and they came in and beat us for the district championship. So we're gonna have to get on track this week, and it was just a wacky week. We had a good week of practice, but again, we had no school today, and it's so hard to get the kids focused and keep everything going when you get them out of sync. But it took a couple minutes, but we got the kids rallied and went in halftime, made some adjustments, and both Shep Talk and Madden and the defense just took over and did a great job. But we're gonna have our hands really full next week with Lewisburg. They're gonna come in here very confident and looking to upset us.
Carl, how about the weekend ahead as far as film breakdown and getting together with your coaches or your kids? They come in on Saturdays, Sundays. What's going to happen this weekend with the Ironman?
Well, I'm a little different. I give my kids off to Monday, and I let them be kids. We went swimming last week. Just let them relax. It's a long season. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon to keep them healthy and keep them focused. And it seems to work for me, and keeps them interested. They're not like us when we play, John. I always said if we had time caps or a time machine and put them in and take them back to Coach Curry, they wouldn't last 15 minutes to a practice. But it's just a
15
different
minutes,
time.
about 5 minutes, Coach. They wouldn't
Yeah.
make 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Coach Curry would have told them they can't have a drink for the first hour of practice. They would all gone home and quit already.
People don't understand that's the truth. And like we practice, and I don't know about with the other coaches, you talk to them, but we go maybe full gear in 3 weeks 2 times. It's always just helmet, shoulder pads, running around. It's just different era, different breed of an athlete. The game's played different than we played. It's getting your guy. Like the splits, we always had big splits. Now everything's tight. Getting your athletes in space, spreading them out, protecting the quarterback, giving them enough time, get the ball out to open space, and everything has changed. And you just can't pound the ground these guys, and you won't have a team.
Coach, how about your team from week 0 to week 13 or whatever we're going to be into now? How has your team changed? Like, have you seen any changes? And I'm sure you've seen some kids that have been a little better, or maybe some kids have, surprised you a little bit. But how's the team in general changed, you think, from beginning to now going into this district championship week?
I just think the confidence level, of winning week in and week out does wonders for you. And it's, Coach Roth and Coach Curry and, the Valley View coach who was there years ago, it's not easy to go 10-0. It's not easy to go 12-0, 11-0. And it's a long process, and the kids grow, and the more you can play extended play, I call it extended play in the playoffs, and get your younger guys getting used to playing more than 10 games a year. It takes a while to get everybody used to playing this long in the season and learn how to play with boo-boos, I call them, and little nicks and bangs. But I see us growing as a defense. Our defense really has came a long way. We didn't let up any touchdowns tonight. We had a so-called call where it was a catch and a fumble, and they picked it up, ran it back 40 yards for a touchdown. Was it a catch? I really didn't think so, but that's high school football. You got to overcome that stuff. And then they got a field goal to make it 10-0 there in the beginning. But like I said, we didn't hit the panic mode. The kids, I called a timeout. My coach is busting my butt because I used my timeouts in the first half. It was the third play of offense or defense, and I called timeout, and they're like, I run out, and Cam comes over and goes, "Don't worry, Coach, we got this. We'll be fine." And I just wanted to see what the kids' reaction was, to see where they're at. And when Cam talks to me that way, I know things will come around.
Carl, congratulations on the win against Montoursville, a tough Lewisburg team. Next week, you guys will get after it on Monday. We wish you all the best.
Hey, thanks for having us, and thanks again. Tell your boy keep picking us. We're a good pick,
You got it. All right, Carl.
All right.
Have a good weekend. I will take a break, come back, talk Shamokin football next.
The Football Blitz is brought to you by Alberigi Insurance. Alberigi Insurance Agency proudly services all your insurance needs for over 60 years. Located at 301 Church Street in Jessup. Call us today for a no-obligation quote for home, auto, recreational vehicles, boats, and business insurance. The Alberigi Insurance Agency, 570-489-6348. Tim Wagner's Sports Corner, your spot for all your MLB, NFL, and NCAA clothing and accessory needs. Come see what Tim carries for every Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees and Giants, Philadelphia Phillies, Eagles, Notre Dame, and Syracuse fan, to name a few. Tim Wagner's also specializes in all your screen printing and embroidery needs. If you're on Sanderson Street in Scranton, you'll need to stop and shop at Tim Wagner's Sports Corner. Century Dental Associates. Century Dental is a state-of-the-art dental office with multiple locations here in northeastern Pennsylvania. We use the latest approaches that are less invasive than ever before. We bring compassion to each individual to help take care of your dental needs in a way that is the best for you. Please call one of our offices or visit our website at centurydentalsmiles.com.
All right, we're back here on the Friday Night Football Blitz, and Shamokin head coach Mark Bursing joining us right now. Coach, it ain't easy beating that Jersey Shore team, but you got it done 28-27. Talk about the victory tonight for you guys.
It was an unbelievable game. We probably didn't deserve to win the game, but the kids, they fought, they clawed. Jersey Shore outplayed us in probably all three phases of the game. But that's why it's high school football, and kids play to the final whistle.
Coach, what do you think's been the difference for your team maybe this year compared to other years? Jersey Shore's been kind of, one of the top dogs in the, coming out of that bracket for the last couple of years. So what's the difference this year, you think, compared to other years?
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. I truly believe in that. Listen, Shamokin is a town of hardworking people, and they raise hardworking individuals. I couldn't be more proud to be their coach right now. Everything that we've been through since last July when I got hired, we spoke this into existence, and it starts with our leaders, Chase Pencil, Blake Hockenbrock, Tyke Hertz, Caden Parker, Benny Delbaugh, Logan Steele. They're just a phenomenal group of kids, and I know they're going to be successful in anything they do in life.
How about the home cooking? Talk a little bit about that feeling and having the people in that proud town behind you.
Yeah, again, I think this was our seventh home game, and it was the seventh game in which the community has shown up in full force. They made life very, very difficult for Jersey Shore and their quarterback in the third and fourth quarter. Anytime we needed a big play, the stands were unbelievably loud, stomping their feet. There were some communication issues clearly on Jersey Shore's end, and it's attributed to the noise that the community and the fans were making.
Coach, I know you want to, soak all this in. It's a big win, big night for your program. Have you looked at all yet, though, the next week and maybe looking at some of the teams that are possible, opponents for you guys and how you'd match up against those teams?
We know that we're going to play the winner of Bellefonte, Juniata, but again, we don't care who we play. It's always been about us. Unfortunately, we got dinged up tonight pretty good. We went 11 weeks with no injury, and we lost 4 kids potentially for the rest of the year tonight. So next guy up mentality. Benny Delbaugh hasn't played a snap of defense all year. He stepped in unbelievably for Dylan Phoenix tonight at outside linebacker. Ty Kurtz goes down. Starting lineman for 3 years for us. We have a sophomore step right in, and it's like we didn't skip a beat. So our big tight end got a high ankle sprain tonight. Jensen Shuey. So anything that could go wrong went wrong tonight, and we still came out victorious. So I'm proud of the fight that they had. We're going to enjoy the victory for tonight, and we'll worry about that next opponent come Sunday morning.
Now, will you take the trip out to Mansion Park and see that game live, or just get the film?
We ask so much of our staff, during the week that's why Huddle's there. We can enjoy our families, enjoy times with our kids, and still meet, virtually. and do everything through huddle. So technology's been a blessing for us. It's it's truly allowed us to stay focused on our family, first and foremost during the year, but still give enough time towards our Friday night football games.
Yeah, the emotions of a 28-27 win, but you lose some players. It's I could
Yeah.
tell how tough it is for you there, Coach. But again, it's congratulations on making it out there. Not easy to do, and
Thank
win
you.
it.
Coach, congratulations next week and good luck
Hey,
next
thank
week.
you. Thank you.
All right. Mark Person, the head football coach of Shamokin, victorious tonight against Jersey Shore. So congratulations to those guys and getting the job done. And that's gotta hurt. You heard Coach Percy. You just kind of feel those emotions. You lose potentially 4 guys, and they haven't had that injury bug all year long.
Yeah, especially when it happens at the end like that. It should be a joyous celebration at the end, and you're so worried about those kids and what the outlook's going to be for them. And we hope speedy recovery, maybe not as bad as what you might think, and you can get them back next week, get them on the field, and make a nice run here against Juniata or Bellefonte.
I mean, it sounds like Carl Major talking to him that Lewisburg's going to give him everything they can handle. And Carl's been confident all year. Every week I've talked to him, we got a good football team. We got a good football team. I don't want to say he's hedging a little bit here when he's thinking about this Lewisburg team, but when you're not clicking on all cylinders, and he said, "Hey, we had the day off of school today," that becomes that routine. Becomes evident. It becomes troublesome.
Yeah, I used to hate that. Like we would always during the season, we always would have 2 or 3 Fridays where we'd have a half day or something like that, where it'd be an in-service day. And I always would tell my kids, you got to do everything has to be the same. So we used to tell our kids go for lunch, so they didn't sleep until 1 or 2 in the afternoon, then get up and try to play a game. So we'd usually try to give them things to do during the day to keep their minds on things. I was laughing with Carl even. My last, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years, we got into the district playoffs. We never went full equipment. We went to, our weeks of shorts, maybe just uppers, and mainly for the same reason that he's saying. When you get to this point, these kids have played so many weeks. You just want to kind of rest their legs a little bit. You want to take a little bit of weight off their legs so that they can fly around a little bit in practice. So I like his mentality. Where he eases back a little bit now. You don't need to. I think this is what I'm saying about coaches that know what they're doing. The newer coaches that haven't been there think you have to be more physical now for practices and things like that because you're playing tougher opponents. And I totally disagree with that. I think you want to tone everything back, keep guys healthy, get them off their legs as much as you can, minimize the amount of practice time. You don't need 2.5 hours of practice, shorten that down. And your kids seem to play a lot better, in big game situations if you can do that. So you could see that coming from a lot of these coaches that have been there, where they're probably going to do well as these playoffs move through all these weeks.
Get down to District 11, just, for those football nuts that are out there, and there's a lot of them that just love hearing scores from all over the place. It was Parkland who took it to Freedom tonight, 24-21. Earlier in the year, I don't know if everybody remembers, late August, it was 30-13 that Freedom dominated Parkland, and they come back and exact that revenge. Not easy to do, but down there in the Lehigh Valley, things like this do happen.
Yeah, they have. I always hated playing. For years, we'd come out when we'd win the district. We'd always play like an ACC or you'd play a Becca or something like that. I just think they're so loaded up with athletes, a lot of good skill players. And, we talk about some of these teams early in the year to late in the year. You could have had the same thing as like Shamokin. You could have had an injury bug hit you early in the year, and now you're getting kids back at the end that didn't play the first time around, or you find some diamonds in the rough at positions maybe you didn't have in those positions early in the year that now, are ready to go. So, these things happen a lot, and especially down, like you said, in that area where they just can pull athletes every year. By the 10s and 20s, they have kids running out. So that's an interesting end of the season score for that game.
Harold Fairclaw down there at Emmaus, he coached down there in Allentown, and they lose to Easton this year in overtime in the regular season. They exact revenge, 20-19 against Easton, and the Red Rovers have been on fire So congratulations. It'll be Emmaus and Parkland now playing there in 6A.
It's a lot of student body of that game. That's two big schools, you know, that have been in the mix for years. And, you know, that'll be an interesting game next week when those two, you know, come to play. And remember what I said to you, I always think it's hard to beat a team twice. Like I said, you can, when you lose the first time, you can nitpick that film and fix all the little nuances that need to be fixed. When you win, you're not really sure what to fix because things worked, and you think you could just use the same, you know, mentality again. And a lot of times it doesn't work that way. So, you know, I always take, if a team plays a team the second time, the team that lost the first time, I'd always go with them that second time around.
How do you not like the Troy Trojans? They get the job. They score 69 against Southern Columbia tonight. They started the year out and won 84-13. Again, the coach's name is Jim Smith, simple name. Troy Trojans, red helmet, little number on it. I mean, that would be a team I think we're all pulling for here to say, hey, can Troy represent and make it to the state championship? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife when I came home, and I was talking about a Pitt, and I said, you know, Troy was up like 42-10 or something at one point, and I said they're making up for lost time for all those years that Southern probably came in and whipped up on them. So Southern, I told you at the beginning of the year, I thought they were down a little bit, not as good as what they had been in the past, and you know, Troy and some of these teams that have been taking a whooping from them for whatever 15 years are you know, exacting a little bit of revenge. So that's a lot of points to score, you know, in a high school game, especially against Southern, who's, you know, physical still and very, you know, mistake free usually. So, you know, Troy, I could see as a team, obviously they're for real. They're one of the better teams in our, you know, this side of the state. And, you know, I'm looking forward to see how far they can go in the state playoffs.
One other state score, people, you know, Thomas Jefferson beats Aliquippa tonight, and everybody knows who Thomas Jefferson is, that's for sure. But Aliquippa, you know, people know who they are too. And Thomas Jefferson took it to him tonight, 38-21.
So I think I'm assuming, and I believe Mark Lyons is still there coaching them. Mark and I coached in the Big 33 together, you know, back years ago. And he's another one of those guys, real cerebral. You know, great program he's had going now there for X amount of years. They're always in the mix, not only in the district part of it, but they're always in the mix at the state level and that state final level. So I expect, you know, Aliquippa was supposed to be one of the better teams in the state. For Thomas Jefferson to beat them, I would say they're probably the team to beat now coming out of that bracket.
Yeah, that's probably the way it seems. I would agree with you. So I think we kind of ran through it all tonight, George. We got not only District 2, but we got some 4, some 11 in there, sprinkled in with some different things going on. And we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Hopefully you have a good football weekend. Again, it is having tonight's in Delaware Valley, tomorrow for the District 5A, District 2 5A championship. That is, and I'm sure you're heading out to Pitt again tomorrow.
It's playing Virginia tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So it's a night game tomorrow in Pittsburgh. So it'll be an interesting, and it's parents' weekend, so it should be a pretty good crowd there, and it should be a pretty good matchup tomorrow night.
All right. Well, I hope you get a good night's sleep.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
All right. That'll wrap it up here on the Friday Night Football Blitz. Have a great night, everybody.